people strive and crave culture and community and camaraderie. But I think there's a subset of people that are content, and there's a subset of people that want to like be champions and like want to achieve massive success. So I kind of want to talk to like that subset. And if you just are content, maybe we can pull you towards, the definition. Welcome to the call. Excited to have my man Cody Barton on here, CEO of Start Virtual, massively successful entrepreneur, been in real estate for a decade now, author. Author.
Oh yeah, 10 years ago.
That's right. Author. The book's got age. It's got those principles. Principles. There's no new antiques, as Jim says, right? So, but all around, very disciplined, driven, focused young entrepreneur who's achieved levels of success that many people don't achieve in their lifetime, but done it successfully and has no plans on slowing down. Love for him. He's going to share today some of his background, his habits, some things that he's learned along the way, as well as kind of talk about his company Start Virtual and how he's seeing that benefit people in the real estate industry, as well as how that's paralleling over to what we're able to accomplish inside of insurance and how it's helped so many of our FFL agents. So happy to have on, bro.
Dude, happy to be here.
Love it, man.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, man, it's like, where do I even start? It's, the journey of entrepreneurship in general, it's it's, if anyone's ever seen like the little image of like the little guy of like, you're up, down. It's like, every day in the life of an entrepreneur is like, yes, everything's great. Then like 3 hours go by and you're like, wait, now it's not great. And like this problem happens and then, success. And so, it's just a constant journey, that you're going through as you're continuing to grow businesses. And, I'll go long story short on this, but, I'm 29 now and, I started in the entrepreneur world, I guess you call it, when I was 17. And, that's how me and Grady met was, the network marketing industry. Yeah. And so, we both came from that space and, did that for 4 years, built a team of a couple thousand people, was, making six figures a year as a teenager. So you're basically millions a year is what it felt like, when you're young and you're like, oh my gosh, like used to having like $100 in your bank account to, having some money. Long story short, the company basically just disappeared when I was 21 and, RIP. But, so I had a really humbling, like ego death experience, because you imagine you give, someone when they're, really young success, relatively quickly. You think that you're like the best thing since sliced bread. And so, had strong ego death at 21, didn't really expect all of that to happen. But, got into the real estate industry, like Grady was saying, it'll be 10 years when I'm 31. So, about eight years now. That's crazy. But, started in the real estate industry and, in the investment side, from fix and flips to rentals, Airbnbs, a lot of different, unique creative finance strategies. And, that was kind of the start of, where I was at after network marketing. And, fast forward to now, we have, the company Start Virtual, which is, we help people like yourself, insurance agents, scale their business through, proven, processes, and then, training with virtual talent to help grow your business. And the reason that, this company even existed was, myself and my partner, Pace Morby, we built our real estate investing business around virtual assistants. I mean, at the height of our, outbound strategies that we were doing, we had, 20 virtual assistants in our own company that were doing pretty much most of everything in our company. We only had a few US-based team members, and, we were acquiring, just in real estate that we were holding over 10 million a year, and it was primarily ran by virtual assistants. And so that really kind of got us, obviously our friends were asking like, how are we doing this? And really just got to the point of like, well, enough people are asking us to help them kind of, model that same success. So we could probably create, a company around this. And so that's what we did in 2020. And, 3 years later, we've, have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of virtual assistants working with people and, the insurance industry, the real estate industry, and other industries as well. And so, building this company up, we have a couple other companies as well. And, we're actively buying other businesses. And I guess that's where the serial entrepreneur piece comes in, So, but the thing is, you could look at that and it's like, oh, it's all these great things that happened over that time. But, really in business, there's lots and lots of, ups and downs that you have to go through. And really the real win in business is the journey of who you become in the process. And, that's something that obviously me and Grady resonate a lot on is, you're, as an agent, right? Like you're pounding the phones, you're having, challenging conversations with people, trying to, get them a policy that makes sense for them. You're getting chargebacks. Like you go through all of these things and it's, it's hard at times, right? But, like the way that I always look at business is, it's like, look at like where you're going. And it's like the gap between where you want to go and where you are today are just these like little actions and disciplines that you have to put in place that over time compound into the great things. The real estate business that, my partner Pace and I have built and, Start Virtual and other companies we built all just started with, this is where we want to go. And what's that one next step that we could do to get us a little bit closer there, So, Grady, I mean, what do you think that, would be, super helpful maybe for some of the people that are listening in that, I can kind of maybe share on a little bit.
I want to reflect back on how hard you worked. Like, because you tell this nice story of, 8 years, 2 years, 10 years next week. I remember back when I was first starting insurance, you must have been 3 years into it. And I was over at your house and you had this like spreadsheet of hundreds of people that you may were using VAs or maybe you were calling them on your own, but it was like, I think, let me saying this for a second here, but like we'll get agents that'll buy 100 leads and they'll make 50 calls and they'll get a couple people that said, I didn't fill this out. And they'll go, this isn't for me. Right. I don't know if these leads sound like they don't really want to buy insurance. And I was like, well, maybe it's because your first day dialing and it might be just like, maybe it's you, maybe it's your phone script. Maybe you need to take more control. But I think reflecting that in your parallels of real estate, like, what were some of the ends you went early on of like how many messages or things that you would do in order to just create either a listing or to create because in real estate you can't really buy leads. You've got to create
them. You got to
create them from thin air. And we in insurance just go swipe our card and we've got people to call that are somewhat interested.
Yeah. I mean, man, like starting off, I didn't know like the strategies that, learning some other paid marketing strategies. And so like, I was just like caveman with it. Like starting off, I'm like, I'm just going to hammer the phone and reach out to people. So I was, the first 2 years, I was cold calling 4 to 5 hours, 6 hours a day, Monday through Friday for 2 years. Like, myself, not a VA, not an assistant, like myself calling cold lists of people that, a lot of them, they weren't expecting to hear from me. And then a lot of them, they were on certain lists where they were like not super stoked to be hearing from me either. So it was like just getting beat up all day, every day for 2 years. And that was what kind of got the foundation. And really, going through that, like I just looked at that experience as like, this gives me an opportunity to practice my script, practice, how to have these conversations with these homeowners. And then what it's going to allow me to do is when I go to start hiring people, I'm going to know what these conversations look like, what they sound like, what that is. And it was it was a brutal grind. I mean, you're hitting the phones all day, every day. It's just like, you just want to bang your head against the wall some of the times, but it's like, that's what kind of helped create the foundation to grow the business. And, it's those, the boring things are really what make the biggest difference in business. And like, you became an agent and, and working at FFL because you wanted to make a lot of money. Like, I don't think anyone like got on board, they got licensed and they're like, you know what, if I could just make like 40 grand a year, this would be worth it to be cold calling and dialing and getting hung up on by, these leads that I'm buying and calling. Like, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think people join because they think that, they're going to make just like, an okay living, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Very correct.
So it's like you join and you get involved in a company like FFL, you get involved in this industry because you want to make a lot of money. And yes, and that's okay. Like, that's totally fine. Like, there's no shame in wanting to make a lot of money, and you should, so you can take care of yourself, you can take care of your family, you can, help out friends, nonprofits, like all of those things, right? So that's why you're here. But I think one of the things that people have to realize is like the path to becoming a 6-7 figure earner isn't like, a hobby. Like, if you treat it like a hobby, it's going to pay you like a hobby. You treat it like a business, it's going to pay you like a business. And so that's like the mindset shift that I think some people have to have. And especially people that maybe haven't been an entrepreneur or a small business owner before, where maybe they're coming out of a W-2 or some other type of like guaranteed pay situation, is you get to eat what you kill. And so that's exciting, but it's also can be, obviously intimidating for some people that are newer getting started. But the greatest thing about it is you are the only gap between where you are and where you want to go. And that gap is you getting better at your skills, and you getting better at, selling, and you getting better at recruiting, and you getting better at, all of the things that encompass becoming a great, insurance agent. And by continuing to work on those skills, like, that's all I ever focused on, is if I can get great at the skills that I need to know, then the money's going to come, because if you become the type of person that can make 6-7 figures a year, then that naturally happens as a byproduct, because you went through and developed the skill sets, you developed the mindset, you developed the team that allows you to create that. And so I always look at something as like, if I have a goal of like somewhere I want to go, you have to look at what type of person do you have to become, do I have to become to be able to achieve that type of goal? Because too many times people, and I've like dozens, hundreds of people along the years of me doing what I've been doing in business have came and like learned from me, and they're like, I want to achieve the same thing, and I'm like, perfect, like just do the same things that I've been doing. But most people don't want to go through that process. And the process of becoming who you need to become is what gets you there. It's not, a get rich quick thing, or, in 48 hours. It's like the ads that are like, get abs in a month. It's like, it's not that. I mean, gosh dang, it's hard to get in shape. I mean, the older I get too, I'm just like, I am working out so hard. I'm eating right, and I still don't have abs. So, I mean, making money, I think, is easier than getting in shape.
Like, honestly, it is. It is, bro. It is. I would agree with that. That could be a book.
Yeah.
That could be a book right there. So, okay. I think this is a question for, and feel whatever you feel comfortable of this question sharing.
Sure.
But you have a very successful partner.
Yeah.
And I think that people, people strive and crave culture and community and camaraderie. Mm-hmm. But I think there's a subset of people that are content, and there's a subset of people that want to like be champions and like want to achieve massive success. So I kind of want to talk to like that subset. And if you just are content, maybe we can pull you towards, the definition. But what with whatever you can share, what was the kind of interaction, or how did you create enough value within yourself to get in that circle?
Yeah.
And then what is some advice you have for people who want to seek like relationships with superior mentors and get in those circles, and how do I provide value for that said person to kind of even have the chance at what you've been able to now do?
Yeah, so I think a great book that I would recommend that everyone should read, I think I remember the guy's author's name, but the book's called The Go-Giver. And I think it's Bob Berg is the author, but the book is called Go-Giver. And so, that something that I've just always had the attitude of is, like, one thing to understand is, and I think a lot of like, especially newer like people into like entrepreneurship or newer into sales, or just kind of like this world of like go create like your own reality, right? Is they don't always understand, how to bring value to others around them. And they're a little bit in the scarcity mentality sometimes of like, what's in it for me? Like, how can I, pull value out of this relationship? How can I go get? And, it's like a lot of people, I'm sure it happens to you too. They'll reach out and like, Cody, can I pick your brain? Or like, can I take you to coffee, or can I take you to lunch? It's like, yeah, I can buy my own $20 lunch. I'm okay. But, it's like people just want to take from your time, and it's like, what value is it actually bringing? And so, for me, when Pace and I, first started working together, the way I reached out to him, he was on a podcast, kind of, similar to this. He was on a podcast with this guy named Steve Trang. Okay. And I was, just working my business, and I had, my dual monitors, and, I have the podcast going on one. And so I could just be hearing it as I'm dialing and making calls and follow-ups. And I'm like working in my CRM on this one and just listening to podcasts all day, keeping me, excited, because it's like a freaking grind going through these calls. Right. So, I'm hearing this podcast. I'm like, man, like this guy Pace is great at selling. And like for me, like my strong suit was never really sales. Like I was always great at like the lead generation, the marketing, the systems, operations, finance side of business. And so, that was something I never really liked to do. And so he was like, yeah, like I'm closing like 10 deals a month and, whatever. I'm like, damn, like that, I want to do that,
Great.
Yeah. I'm like, that sounds awesome. And so, he actually gave out his phone number on the podcast. So he gave out his phone number and I took down his number. And so I was great at getting leads, but one, I didn't like to actually like do the sales part, and I wasn't great at it either. And so I reached out to him and I said, hey Pace, my name's Cody Barton. Love the podcast with you and Steve. I just wanted to reach out to you and let you know I'm generating a lot of leads in my business. And, it seems like you're, crushing it in the sales side of, conversions of these leads. And, I would love to learn more. Can I give you the leads that I'm generating? And you can close them, you can make all the money on the leads, but I want to be able to watch you do it so then I could learn how you're doing it so then I could get better. And so that was the way I reached out. And it was totally genuine. Like I wasn't like trying to like pull the wool over and like, this is like my end. Like I was like, dude, like you're crushing it. I'm trying to be rich forever. Like I'm not trying to make $1 right now, So it's like, that was what I led with, was like, how could I bring him value? Because what's going to happen? He's going to get reached out to from a bunch of people. Like, can I pick your brain? Can I take you to lunch? Can I, can you show me what you're doing? And I was like, let me just give you my leads. Yeah. And so we ended up, meeting for lunch. Kind of chatted, and then, another week went by, and then we ended up, it was the funniest thing. He had like a golf tournament he was in. It started raining. He's like, my golf tournament got canceled. I'm driving near your house. Meet me at the McDonald's by your house. It's the most random thing, right? No shit. And
sounds like him.
Yeah.
It's totally him.
Yeah. So he's like, meet me at the McDonald's. And he's like, bring your leads. And I'm like, okay. So I brought my computer to this McDonald's, and he's like, and they're just like crushing like a Big Mac or something. And like, we sit down and he's like, all right, let's call your top 10 hottest leads. And literally like from that day, from some of the conversations we had, we got 4 or 5 contracts within the first month, literally just from like, I just got on the phone and I was like, I'm going to introduce you to my partner Pace. And then I just hand the phone to him. And so and then the first deal that we actually got done and closed, he's like, hey, I want you to make half the money. Cause I was still like insane. I was like, you keep all of it. I got to watch it. Thank you. But he's like, no, like you're going to make half the, like, we'll just split it. And so we did that for, the first few deals. And, kind of that relationship was, I just kept trying to bring value of like how I could. And then, he was reciprocating and his, talents and abilities. And so that was how the relationship started, was like me leading with, here's what I have to offer. I don't want anything in return. And a lot of times people aren't willing to do that. Like the people are so selfish. They're just like, what's in it for me? Give me. And that's like what a lot of people's mentality is. And I think some people don't even realize that because they're like newer and they're just used to kind of like, asking for things. And so, it's like leading from a place of value. And I'm a big believer in like the law, of compensation and like laws of reciprocity. And I'm like, if I'm giving, it may not come back in this way, but in some other way in my life, in some other area, it's gonna come back to me. And so that's just a belief system that I, developed. And, that's I think what a lot of people could do is like, look at what value you could bring to somebody else. Cause, a lot of times, you have to have something to bring to, top person. Like
they're busy.
Yeah,
they
like they don't have time for anything. Like they're going. I literally had this guy actually text me or message me on Instagram like 2 nights ago, and he's like, "Hey man, like can we meet up? Like I'm getting into real estate. Like I want to see what I could
getting into it. I just got my license.
Can we meet and like can I ask you for some advice?" And I'm like, no, I don't have time. I barely have time for my own team. Like I'm trying to make time for my team on stuff. And it's like, and it's not in a selfish way.
It goes, hey man, I just got my license. I'd love to come work for you for free for a month. I'll get coffee. I'll take out the trash. Yeah. I'll stand in the corner and be a sponge. I don't smell and I'll do anything just to get around you guys. I see what you're doing and I promise I'll be an asset to you in the future.
Yeah. That's a different conversation.
That goes, okay, he's creative, he's funny, he's clever, he's not asking for anything, he just wants to provide value. And then in 2 days, he's either done something where you're like, get out, or he's just sitting there quietly waiting to how can I help, and he's just listening and learning through osmosis.
Yes.
There's takers and there's givers.
It's a giver. It's a giver. And, it's like always trying to be at a place, where you could be a giver. And so, that's just, I think the biggest thing for people to get, additional proximity because, especially as you're trying to elevate and it's like, you become the average of the 5 people around you spend the most time with, your health's going to be similar, your finances are going to be similar, your relationships, like all of the things start to kind of mesh together. And so if you want to elevate the, your income, you want to elevate these other things, it's like you need to look at the circle that you're spending time with. Like, are they making the money you want to make? Do they have the lives you want to live? And really be looking at that. And then if you're not, how do you go and get proximity to the people that have that? And one of the things that I look at too, and it's a little bit, off from this, but it's like sometimes people will come to, we do, masterminds in the real estate community, me and Pace every quarter, and people will come in and they're like, I can't build a community. Like I'm trying to level up my friends. And we're like, well, where do you live? And they're like, North Dakota. And I'm like, people are not, fighting to move to North Dakota and become massively successful entrepreneurs. So it's like, sometimes it requires moving, go to where the movers and shakers are, get around them. Because if you, again, it's like the environment that you're allowing yourself to be in is what's going to either elevate you or limit you on where you can go. Obviously, you could live wherever and be fine, but it's like, is it easier to be in the same location as the most successful people that you can get around? Probably.
And then go move back to North Dakota.
Yeah, and then move back, make a bunch of money, make a bunch of friends, and then move back if you love North Dakota,
Yeah. No, that's so good. I mean, I loved what the value provide, the go-giver. But I think about that in our own business. Like, if any one of you new agents hit up Caitlin Blackburn or Rich Stebnecki, Logan O'Brien, Mara, one of our top producers says, hey, I'd love to buy you $1,000 of the leads. You call them. I just want to listen. They because they're such they're busy, but they're already dialing live ads. They may not even take it. But if you were like, hey, I want a full day of training with just you. I'll buy the leads. You make the money. I just want to listen and watch on Zoom. There's 0% chance they wouldn't say so. You hit up Scotty. You hit up Jesse Hantla. You hit up Crystal Bolger and say, I'd love to watch you sell some IULs. You hit up Brad Allen. He does split commissions right now. There's all these opportunities to learn how to sell at an elite level. Just like you did. Mm-hmm. This guy can sell. I can generate leads. I'm struggling my way through it. I'm going to give him as much value as I can and get in his circle. These opportunities exist. And I mean, the message rings true in every industry. But how many of you would go buy a top producer leads and try to have that conversation? Hey, I'd love to just get 4 or 5 hours of your time. I'll buy the leads. I just want to watch you get some special private time. I won't be a bother, but I really want to level up my skill set. There's
100%. And it's it's a difference between being curious and being serious. I was serious. You kind of have to be at a place of I just look at it, the way that you're going to be massively successful is if you put burn the boats of you're kind of just dipping your toe in the water of I'm going to give this thing a shot. I'm going to see if I can, make a bunch of money. And if I accidentally stumble into that, then I'll keep doing it. And, it's the mentality you have to have. For me, I was my back's against the wall that this is what I'm doing and I will be successful with this. And it's like, I just, it's like you have to kind of get to that mental place of this is what I need to do. And I think sometimes people like, someone spending $1,000 to give those leads away, some people with scarcity mentality are like, well, I could make the money from those. And it's like, it's not about the money. It's about the person that you could become. And if by, spending a day with one of those top producers, you spent $1,000, you got a 10, 20, 30, 50, $100,000 education because you now learn new things and new ways to approach those leads where now you can go and close at a higher percentage. And then you can teach that to your team. And it's like those skills and that education compounds. And so that's the thing that actually matters. Like, because then you can go and implement those things yourself.
Yeah. I mean, it's so true. I mean, I think that the door to get into our industry is wide open, right? I mean, you need to get a license. Real estate, you got to get a license, right? But there's a million agents with licenses, and there's a million life insurance agents with licenses, and the bottom 50% make zero. The bottom 75% may sell one policy ever. Bottom 80% may sell 10. I mean, I'm sure you know the realtor stats, but we're talking top, 5% of insurance agents maybe make a median income, and you got to be top 1%. So if you go, I want to be top 1% to make a significant income, you got to behave like a top 1%er would behave. You got to discipline yourself, get up, exercise, right? Your body's a temple, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it is crazy hard to get abs. So I would agree with that.
It's impossible. It feels like
it's a lot. It's
possible.
It's enough kale and rice, and I got to get one of those damn scales. I just can't measure peanut butter.
Just portion sizing. The portions.
Sizing. I know. So awesome. Thanks for your time, bro. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
All right, buddy. Make it a great day. Talk soon. Bye for now.